Get all your burps out now before we start recording. Oh wait, were we already recording?
Yeah.
Blooper burps.
Hi, welcome back to another Bookish and Belle video. If this is your first time watching, I'm Celeste and I make videos about minimalist style, lazy girl beauty, food, books, and just all kinds of ways to live a more effortless and awesome life. And I'm here today with my very stylish, very awesome, very effortless husband, Ryan.
Hello, hello.
and our cat, Augie. So I've got Ryan in on the video today because I wanted to give you guys an example of a full closet audit and upgrade process. So we're in the middle of the upgrade. We can't buy every single thing all at once, but we've got a pretty good list, and I wanted to share the experience with you guys. The first process is sort of the audit, and that's where we actually went through all of his drawers and kind of category by category looked at what he needed right down to the socks.
Yeah.
And we were really like, okay, is there a reason we need multiple kinds of socks? What are the functions these socks are serving? There were the running socks and the socks to wear with hiking boots and all of that, and just making sure that we had the right number and we didn't have too many and we didn't have worn out ones. We went through socks, we went through shoes. He doesn't have a ton of shoes, but there were a couple areas where there were things that he needed or wanted in terms of shoes.
I don't have a ton of shoes, but I currently have more shoes than I've ever had.
Yeah, and yet there were a couple pair that you wanted to buy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and part of that is just like practicality as well. So, I mean, he doesn't want to have like a really complicated life with a ton of different shoes just for style, but there are things like what kind of arch support do you need when you're working and when you're walking versus the style that you want when you're going out, right?
It's different than when I was in high school and my feet were healthy and I could wear whatever all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And in high school I'd have like 3 different pairs of shoes. Essentially one that was wearing all the time, and they might have been my favorite shoes, but they only last for half a year when you wear them all the time.
A big portion of your wardrobe is t-shirts.
Yeah. And I think I have enough t-shirts.
Yeah.
Part of this is to get me away from t-shirts when I'm dressed casually. Because I'm 35 now. And I've always thought of myself as more of a fancy pants.
Right, sure. Fancy pants. Sweaters, which was probably the smallest section that we audited.
Mm-hmm.
Pants, and this included jeans and khakis, and this is where you found out that you wanted something lighter for when you're hiking, and we ended up getting you those great hiking pants at Eddie Bauer.
Yeah.
So that was good. And then we have a gym and lounge section, so that's like pajamas and everything that he wears to work out. And I found that for that, like, it's really important to break it down as well into like what's the particular exercise that you do. So Ryan, he runs, he does strength training, he swims, and he cycles. And those are all things that you need different clothing for. And so like one of the things we found, right, was you were like, I just need some oversized white t-shirts that I would never wear when I'm not running, but that's gonna be the best way to keep your body cool when you're running on a hot day.
Yeah, because you can run with your shirt off, but then you'll get a sunburn and your armpits will chafe.
So then the final section of your clothes is everything that was hanging. So that's all dress shirts and some suits and things like that. And we looked at accessories like ties and hats and all of that as well, which again, like, you have pretty minimal. You know what you like. You don't need to have like a million hats. You have the one hat that you like.
Yeah, I have one hat that I'll wear when I feel like I don't want to mess with my hair, or my hair is a mess. And then I have a hat for actually being warm.
Right.
And that's about it. And then maybe like a ball cap if I want to prevent sunburn on my face.
Right.
And I have a hat for running too. So I have
4 hats.
And then like ties, I like my tie collection. I feel like my tie collection is there because ties are cheap. So it was really easy to get that, solid.
Right, and that was something that we condoed a fair number of ties as well.
Yeah.
So we'd already gone through a condoing process, and so there was less of needing to get rid of things and more of finding out where were the things that he wanted that he didn't have.
You know when skinny black ties sort of came back? Like, I don't know if it was Reservoir Dogs that did it or Mad Men, but skinny black ties started coming back in the late 90s.
And Mad Men was like
yeah, so
10
definitely
years
wasn't Mad
after
Men.
Reservoir Dogs.
Definitely wasn't Mad Men. But skinny black ties were back. That was always the ties I wanted, and I hit the jackpot because I worked at a nursing home, and there was a lot of access to ties that are left behind from people who bought ties in the 60s. So
Lots of good vintage ties.
lots of good vintage ties.
It's like, people troll estate sales. I mean, is this really any darker?
Yeah.
He actually had relationships with those old people. He took care of them at the end of their life. So as we were going through each of these sections, we would get rid of anything that was still remaining that needed to be gotten rid of. Like I said, that wasn't a ton. And then Ryan would sort of point out where he thought that he already knew what was missing, although this won't get at the full extent of what you need quite yet. But we made notes of that. And I also made notes of things that he would point out that he liked and didn't like about stuff like that. So in terms of colors and shapes and things, and we'll get into that a little bit more.
I remember there was a lot of vocabulary I learned during that part.
So just as an example, because you know you'll need to start kind of getting your juices flowing with what are the things that you like and don't like. And this is something that we got into when we looked at Pinterest as well, which is coming a little later, just looking up general men's fashion. And I would look up some certain search terms. So like if I wanted to ask him if he liked Shaw collars or a desert boots, I'm gonna know more of the specifics of that, so I would use Pinterest to help him out with that. But,
Because those terms mean nothing to me.
Right. But if you don't know the terms for the clothing that you're looking up as well, you can just look up general stuff on Pinterest and Google Image, and then when you link to those, they'll usually have a description in the product page, so then you'll find out, oh, that shape of shoe that I like is called a desert boot, and then you can search for it more. So that's helpful. But we wrote down some of the things that he liked and didn't like, which were horizontal stripes is a big one. That's big for both of us. We almost wore matching striped shirts today, which we accidentally do a lot, but I thought it would be pretty distracting for the video. So, doesn't like shaw neck or turtleneck, likes V-neck. He noticed a lot of blazers and sweaters with elbow patches on Pinterest.
I like those.
Something that you liked.
I'm into elbow patches.
Mm-hmm.
Professorial.
Yeah, you liked the desert boots, especially suede. You liked contrast soles and a pop of color in your shoes. And then we talked about colors, and you said you liked black, gray, light blue, dark green, sage green, purple, but not for pants, burgundy, white for shoes and shirts, and no to orange, bright blue, bright red, yellow, and pink.
What? Yeah, bright blue.
You like light blue, but not bright blue. So there's
Not like Easter blue.
right, Easter blue.
You know, like how like an Easter egg blue.
Right, and this is another
Robin's
thing.
egg.
If you're working with a partner, a stylist, somebody who's helping you at the store, a spouse who might be helping you buy things, a parent, to get on the same page about these things, it's really helpful to get the actual images of stuff. So when we talked about colors, I would say something like, do you like sage green? And then I would Google and point to specifically what I meant so that we had a good idea. Because just saying I like blue is not really going to get at the specifics of the look that somebody's going for.
Yeah, and you know, the kind of sage you eat is a very different green than the kind of sage you burn.
Crazy ex-girlfriends. Yeah, one of them keeps ghosts away.
Yeah, and the other is green.
Uh-huh. Ghosts are so obsessed with me. Oh my god, that show is so good.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we got to the point where we really started talking about inspiration and the look that he wanted to foster. So not just about filling those missing gaps in terms of like, do you have enough pants? So I work at an ad agency. We always talk about the ignition point of an idea. And I feel like the ignition point for us was Ben Wyatt on Parks and Rec.
Like his style appeals to me because like I like to wear suspenders and be kind of dress uppy, but I also like to be really comfortable. I mean, wearing a suit is nice and fun. Like a suit makes me feel sort of, it almost, you know, like how like clothes can make you feel different about yourself. You know, like a suit makes me feel powered up. You know,
Yeah.
like it makes me feel smarter and classier and funnier. Like a suit is great, but I wouldn't wear suits every day, all day, because it's just uncomfortable.
And it doesn't correspond to your actual lifestyle, so that's part of it too. What's your job? What are the activities that make up your life? So these sort of things went hand in hand for us, right? Where we talked about like, okay, you want to dress like Adam Scott, but for you it was sort of different parts of your life. Oh, Adam Scott is the actor who plays Ben Wyatt, so sometimes we use them interchangeably. So like a lot of the times he would be wearing button-down shirts and ties to work because he works in an office building. You work in a lab, so that's not what you would wear to work, but it was the same kind of look that you wanted to wear for social occasions. So a lot of times the inspiration that you take will, in a practical way, kind of applies differently, and you just have to figure it out for your own life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I could put a lab coat over that.
You would be the most stylish person at the hospital, like everybody. Like, people already think he's a doctor when they see him in a lab coat, which is weird because it's called a lab coat. So it's specifically for the lab. But if you wore a lab coat with a tie, everybody would just be like, operate on me right now. And you'd be like, I'm not a doctor. And they would be like handing you knives, just like, cut me.
There was one guy in the lab who did kind of dress like that. He didn't do as many plaids and stuff. He would have more like shiny single color shirts, but he was always wearing a button-up shirt with a tie. And I think seeing him too made me go like, I think that's when I was like, I really want to do this. Like I have to do this wardrobe thing. I'm tired of my wardrobe being half of what I wanted to be.
Right.
After there was a little competition in the lab for best dressed.
It's interesting. I feel like that's something that can change my style sometimes too. It's just feeling a bit of permission that it's okay to dress up or to care more about your style. Like I know when I was in high school, I always felt like I had to blend in, and it was the period where I was the least personally expressive with my style. And then I had to get to a point, and I think looking at people on the internet a lot, and like Lookbook Not New and stuff when I was in my early 20s was a big period where as I was coming out of college, it was like, it felt like it gave me permission to care about what I wore and to have my own style expression and not just blend in. And it sounds like maybe there's a bit of that happening as well, where you're like, okay, this guy also has my same job, but he wears ties. Maybe I can wear a tie if I want to.
Oh, and another thing that was a big deal about it, and we did this when I was in my 20s, and it made me go, oh, I want to dress like an adult. I want to change things. And it made me first feel like dissatisfied with my wardrobe in a big way was when we went to Paris.
Yeah.
And just walk around the street, you know, like that's the thing about Paris is that everyone is dressed well, like shopkeepers, security guards, you know, like everybody is dressed well, and you can tell who Americans are because we're not dressed as well as everyone else. Like our clothes don't fit, and our shoes are clearly
dirty.
More comfortable and dirty. You can tell who Americans are because we're not dressed as well, and you can tell who the British tourists are because they are being obnoxious. Calling you out, Braden.
Ryan's trying to start this thing where the ugly American stereotype is pushed onto British people. Because one time we saw a woman being an ugly American in Paris, and then later
yelling about this coffee that she didn't get. She wanted a mocha, like cut in front of the line, was berating everybody, holding everything up.
Yeah, and then later we saw her with her friends and she was British.
Yeah, she put on a fake American accent to complain.
Yeah, so now we're like, hey, it's not just us.
They're still mad about the French and American alliance that beat them in the Revolutionary War, and they're still trying to drive a wedge between
Yes,
us.
they're trying
The
to-
French think Americans are rude, and Americans think the French are rude, when really it's just British people putting on fake accents.
Yeah, but if you are British, I'm sure it's not you. Honestly, I feel like a ton of the Americans that people see in continental Europe have to be British, because British people vacation to Europe way more than Americans do. It's closer.
There were way more British tourists in Paris than American Paris.
But everybody sees them and they hear the English and they see the ugly sneakers or trainers. Okay, but what it comes down to is everyone should be respectful and polite when they travel, and respect other customs, and don't expect people to be your servants or speak your language.
And pack 2 pair of shoes.
Pack 2 pair of shoes, and that goes for Americans, British, and everybody you like. And Canadians are great and they never do anything wrong. Gosh darn those Canadians. Anyway.
Gosh darn.
I said that because I felt like that was what a Canadian would say. So, getting back on track. So we talked about Ben Wyatt, and obviously this was a great point of inspiration for the way that Ryan wanted to dress, but we also needed to get practical and break up the actual occasions of his life. And
how many Ben Wyatt outfits do I need? I mean, practically.
Right, so getting as specific as you can, think about the various different occasions that you need to dress for and how often they come up, because you're going to need more clothes for the occasions that you spend more of your life doing. Everybody is different, so people who work out a lot are going to need more workout clothes. So we broke up your life, and the first big chunk was work. And work is really easy because you have kind of a uniform there.
Mm-hmm.
So he works in a hospital lab, and there's a hospital polo that they like him to wear. And then you always wear it with khakis.
Yeah, just khakis, because I have a large waterproof lab coat that I wear over whatever I'm wearing. Mm-hmm. The big thing for work is finding the proper shoes and socks that can last for 10 hours.
Right. And you want your shoes to be fairly repellent as well, in case you spill on them, right?
Oh yeah, you can't wear Crocs.
Which you own so many Crocs.
Yeah. You don't want blood getting through the Croc holes.
Right. But generally you don't wear cloth sneakers or anything at work either, right?
Yeah.
Augie's back at it. So then the other section, besides work, we had social, working out and sleeping, and lounging. These got sort of broken up into subsections because life is complicated. So work is really easy. It's always the same. Your work might not always be the same if you're someone who has different stuff for client facing versus office versus working from home. But for Ryan, that was sort of the most simple part. So for social stuff, we broke it down into very formal events, like if we're going to the ballet,
Or
a wedding,
funeral.
mm-hmm. Going out with friends, and then casual hanging out. Casual hanging out meaning like running errands, going for a walk, going to the park, stuff like that.
A grocery store, bar.
Bookstores. Whereas going out with friends is sort of more elevated. And then for very formal, this is where we got into either suit or suit pants with one of your more formal button-downs, tie, and then you have the blazers and vests again.
Yeah, I like vests.
And then we broke out the working out into the various things that he does, as we mentioned. So we have hiking, running, swimming, biking, and strength training, and these all take a variety of clothing, some of which is dual purpose. And so we figured out that, and we estimated how often he's going to be doing that per week and how many he's going to need.
And if there's anything a wife hates about her man, it's his disgusting running shorts that aren't even colors that complement him.
Yeah, he has really bad running shorts. He just picked them up one time at Meijer.
In a clearance bin. I need these,
The clothes at Meijer are so gross that when we're there, I have to do a blinders thing, if we're there buying groceries. That's why I don't like to go to Meijer, and I always like to go to Kroger, because I have to be I have to hum a little tune in my head and be like, this isn't a thing, only beautiful things exist, because it's very traumatic for me. And And then the final section is the sleeping and lounging, and he's real simple with that. You got your t-shirts, which can be the same t-shirts from the strength training working out and the casual running errands. And you've got some pajama pants or sweatpants, depending on how cold it is, the thinner ones and the thicker ones. It's got like one pair of each, right? It's very minimal.
A lot of guys will have a very practical, like, these are my dirty clothes for, like, I'm changing the oil or I'm cleaning the gutters, or like I'm crawling under the house in the crawl space, you know, which is a nightmare. So I have a pair of baggy blue jeans that have paint on them from when we were painting the house, right? And then I have, you know, I always have some like dirty t-shirt from my old work or some t-shirt that was given me free because I donated blood or something like that.
Right.
And everybody has these, and you need these for doing those dirty chores, but don't let those also become your like pajamas. Because I'll tell you something about married life, pajama time usually leads into any of your intimate time, and it goes better. If you look good, you're more likely to succeed in seducing your own wife, right?
Yeah.
You don't want me wearing...
Sure. Well, you know, it's interesting because this is a specific thing that Marie Kondo calls out, not the intimate time part of it, but she said something about don't relegate clothes that were for something else to a lower point. So don't make your lounge clothes just clothes that you used to wear outside the house, but now they look like crap.
Like, the cool thing about having nice lounge clothes is it's like putting on a suit. When I put on my comfortable lounge pants, I'm like, oh yeah, it's lounging time.
If you are hanging out around the house and, you know, or sleeping or about to go to sleep and the top that you're wearing is a t-shirt, well, why should it have to be that I donated blood t-shirt that has too many colors on it and it like isn't stylish at all when you have a bunch of other t-shirts? There's no point to having clothes that don't make you happy.
And often free t-shirts are not the most comfortable fabric.
That's so true. Yeah, they're usually made out of really low quality fabric, and so they're not even comfortable. Yeah. So the final step that we did was we made a list of all the things that we would need to buy. And for some people this is going to be bigger or shorter. It could be something that's going to take you years to achieve depending on how much you need to buy and how expensive in your financial situation. Ours is not an overnight thing. It's something we're probably going to be able to accomplish in the next 6 months to a year.
Well, I got a bunch of gift cards for my birthday.
Right, so who knows? And then we labeled everything as high or low priority. So I highlighted all the high priorities and I bolded all the low priorities so that we would know what to do first. All right, well, I hope that you guys found this helpful. If you have any questions about the process, or any comments, please leave them in the down bar. Give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if you found it helpful. It helps other people find me and it helps me out a lot. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. And thank you so much for watching. Bye. Oh, wow. Okay. Augie, you think maybe you can tune that down just a hair quieter?
Do you want to come up here, Augie?
You have food.
Maybe we should just put them outside.
Oh my God. No. You're not allowed outside. You know that.